If you want to follow along to this without using MakeHuman, the character is available on my website and the link is in the description below. In this tutorial, I'll cover the basics of using MakeHuman to create a character, then the software Papagayo to automatically animate mouth shapes, add motion capture to the model and export it to Unreal Engine. There is a bit of work involved and quite a few add-ons to enable. Best get these add-ons set up first, iron out any problems. You also need a motion capture BVH file. Here's a list of the add-ons and software I'll be using for this video. This is the MakeHuman page where you'll find the necessary add-ons for both Blender and MakeHuman, so you can follow this tutorial or just experiment yourself. First, we can open up MakeHuman. We can make some adjustments to the physical characteristics of this character. I can drag these sliders here and change the appearance of the mesh. Now I can move on to geometrics and add some clothes and also give him a pair of shoes. I can move on to the eye tab, select the high poly eye here, move on to the hair tab and select a hairpiece. Move on to the teeth tab and select these here. It's important to have teeth for the animation. Next, in the eyebrows tab here, I can select 009, and finally I can switch to the tongue tab and select this here, and this just gives him a tongue. I can switch to the pose animate tab and here choose the default rig preset. This is a very good rig that includes facial bones. You can spend some time in here getting the character you want, but I'm now ready to export this character. First, make sure to save your MakeHuman file. That way you can come back and make changes to this character at any time in the future. I can come up to the File tab, click Save, and I'll save this file somewhere permanent. First, I can name it. Next, click this folder icon here. Find the folder and double click in here. Name the file, and I can click Save. Now click the Export tab. First, I can choose the mesh format to be a MakeHuman Exchange MHX2. This is a plugin that must be installed for this option to appear. I showed a link to where this add-on is available at the beginning of the video. This will export the character and rig. For the unit scale, I can select centimeter as this character will be exported to Unreal Engine after Blender. Click Expressions also, and that way the character is exported with facial expressions. I won't be using them for this tutorial, but they can be very useful, so it's good to be aware of those. Click the folder icon and find the location. Name the character and click Save. This will export the model. We can now open up Blender. I can first press A and press Delete to remove all the objects in the scene. Over in the Scene tab, I can change the unit scale to centimeters by changing the 1 to 0.01. This will now match up with Unreal Engine. I can now press F4 for the file context menu and from import choose MakeHuman MHX2. This is another add-on that needs to be enabled for this to be available in Blender. I can navigate to the folder I just exported the character to. In here there is a texture folder and the .mhx2 file. We only need to select the .mhx2. We do however need to check on override exported data. You can experiment with these settings. I'm going to check on face shapes so the expressions become available in Blender. Also, let's come down here to the rigging area. In the drop down, I want to choose exported MHX. I'm going to make sure custom shapes is checked and face rig drivers. The rest I can leave as default. Now click import MHX2. That will take a moment. We now need to zoom out to view the model. I can press the home key to bring that into view. This character comes in with a nice control rig. I can press N to open up the sidebar, and this is where you'll find the MHX2 add-on once it's enabled. I can scroll right down the way to the bottom and here you will find the expressions. I can press numpad 1 for front view and 5 for orthographic and zoom in to the character's face. We can click any of these buttons here to get the corresponding shape. And then finally, you can click the rest to return to default. We are currently in pose mode. To deselect the character, I can press Ctrl plus Tab and return to object mode. Select the rig now and press Ctrl Tab again and come back into pose mode. In the object data tab here, I can press and hold Shift and switch on this layer here. These are control bones for the face that will let us create poses for the mouth shapes. I can minimize the skeleton area, expand the pose library, and also grab the selection set area and drag this up and place it underneath the pose library. Click New to add a new library. This is where we can create mouth shapes using the facial bones. We can create the basic phonemes here. I can click the plus and add New, double click and name this E. I can append the list in from another blend file to speed up this process. So from the drop down, select the list. I can grab the slider and drag this down so you can see the list I just created. Let's expand the selection sets and click the plus. I can double click and call this face set and press enter. Up on the toolbar, left click and hold and switch the selection type to select box. You can always switch back to tweak, which is the default. Select box lets you drag select objects. I can drag select all these facial bones here, and over in the selection set, click assign. This assigns the selected bones to this set. So now if I press Alt plus A to deselect, I can click select to select all these at once. Let's select the E here and start creating that shape. In the tool tab here, I can check on X-axis mirror. Now if I select these bones, I can start adjusting the mouth shapes and creating the shape a mouth would usually make when saying the word E. To speed this up, I can right click on the layout tab and duplicate it. Now split the screen here and close off the tool shelf and the sidebars on both windows. I can press numpad 3 for side view and I'll continue to create the shape. Once you're happy with the shape, click select on the selection set and in the pose library, click the plus and choose replace existing. And now choose E. This will update the E pose with the changes. We do, however, need to create the rest pose. That's where there is no change in the expression. With everything selected, I can press Alt plus G, Alt plus R and Alt plus S to clear out the location, rotation and scale. If I now select the rest and click the plus and choose replace existing, I can replace rest. Now if I select E, I can click the glass icon here and switch to that pose. That is the process for creating these mouth shapes using the pose library. I can speed this section up while I create the remaining shapes, so not to bore everyone. I rushed this section here so the results won't be as good as can be achieved. You can always return to this section and fine tune these mouth shapes. The next step is to open Audacity and record some sound for this. I can open Audacity and click record. I can say this line here, what a great day for a walk in the wilderness. Short and sweet. I can click stop now. I can select the parts to the front I don't need and press delete. and also select at the back of this soundtrack, and I can delete this also. You can make adjustments to this by adding effects. So for example, if you wanted to remove any noise, you could do that here. I can select a small piece, come up and click Effect and Noise Reduction, and come up Effect and Repeat Noise Reduction. I can also add some effects to enhance this recording a little. I can add a compressor. I can do some equalization. So when you're happy, you can save the project, and that way you can open this up and make further changes in future. We also need to export this as a sound file so it can be imported to Papagayo. So I can click Export Audio, find a folder to save this sound file into, name it and click Save and click OK. Next we can open up Papagayo, come up to File and Open. Navigate to where you have saved that sound file, select it and click Open. The next step is to type in the spoken text that is in that audio file. I can press Ctrl+V and paste that in here. Straight away the software tries to align everything, but it's best scrub along and take a listen yourself. I can left click and drag along here. I can tell some of these are not exactly matching up. So what I'll do is first make sure that the top green line is the full length. Making changes to this will change everything beneath. So best start up top and work down. The green line is fine here, it fits the sound strip. So I can select each of the orange strips and resize them to align with the sound. I can drag the playhead back and forth to double check that these are matching up as I reposition them as best I can. You can lengthen and shorten the strips to best match up with the sound file. When you're happy with the result, you can save the file, and we can come down here and click Export. Find the location to save the .dat file. Name it. I can call this character line _001 and click Save. When that's exported, let's open back up Blender. I can press N to open the sidebar. Here we have the animation tab once you have enabled the lip sync add-on that handles the DAT file we just exported from Papagayo. In the import section here, I can click the folder icon and navigate to the folder where I saved the DAT file and click Accept. Before we run this, the name must exactly match the name of the pose library. Otherwise, you will get an error until it matches exactly. You can select this here and copy it, then paste it over here just to make sure it's correct. Now click Plot Keys to the timeline. I can drag up the timeline a little and the keys should be visible here. I can press play to take a look, but it's not great without sound. I can pause this and click the scrubber back to the start. Up top here, I can scroll over to the end, click the plus, and from video editing, select video editing. We can add in the sound file here so it syncs with the character's movements. From the sequencer, I can press Shift+A and choose sound. Navigate to the sound file, select it and click Add Sound Strip. I can press page up to jump to the end of the strip, then Ctrl+End to close up the timeline to the scrubber. Now let's switch back to layout.001 and press spacebar to play the animation. It's not playing back in sync, so in the playback menu I can choose AV Sync from the drop down and now press the spacebar again. I can pause this again. That's the process of adding sound to the character. Let's save this as an action so we can use it later. Let's come up to the animation tab, switch this editor to the dope sheet, and from the drop down here to the action editor. I can scroll across and name this character line _001. Now click push down. That gets added to the NLA editor so we can retrieve it later. If I switch to the non-linear editor, we can see the action strip here. Let's come back to the layout tab and I can zoom out. Let's now add motion capture to this character. That requires this add-on BVH retargeter to be enabled. You also need a motion capture file. These must be BVH format. These are available online from different sources. There are links on the BVH retargeter website to sources for these files. With the rig selected, I can click Load and Retarget. Navigate to where the file is stored, select it and click Load and Retarget. That works through the process, and if successful, we can click OK. I can drag up the timeline here. This is a little longer than the length of the timeline, so I'll place the scrubber at the end here and press Ctrl+End and have this play the entire motion capture file. I can also come back to the video editing tab, press H to hide the sound clip. Now switch back to the layout tab. Now I can press play and play this back. So that's the walk working. Let's now export the character. Then bake the animations and export those. We have plenty of options with baking the animations at this stage. We can export the character without any animation first, export both the facial and walk cycles separately and add them into Unreal when we need them. First, I can come up to the animation tab and switch this editor to the dope sheet, and we're still in the action editor. Here I can name this character walk and press enter. Now click push down and this will get pushed down as an action. Now let's switch back to the NLA editor. I can zoom out in the scene, press Ctrl+Tab and switch back to object mode and drag select everything. Press F4 and from export choose FBX. Find a location for this file. Check on selected objects. In geometry choose face. Uncheck bake animation. That way only our character and rig export, no animation. Name the character and now click export. Back in Blender, I can uncheck character line, select just the control objects, press F4 and from export choose FBX. Find the location, name the animation. This is the character walk. Selected objects is checked. Put a check mark in bake animation. Uncheck all actions. Now click export FBX. I can uncheck character walk and check on character line. Press F4 and from export choose FBX again. Find a location, name the animation. This is character line. Now click export FBX. Let's now open up Unreal Engine. In the marketplace there is a village scene and I'll use this scene for this character animation. This might take some time to download, but I can create a new project using this. I'll create a new film-based blank project with no starter content. I'll go ahead and add this to a project and open it up. This opens up the main map. I'm using Unreal 4.24 for this example. I have added the advanced village pack to the scene. I can double click into here and double click into maps. Now double click into the showcase map. Let's now import in the character. I can click back to the content folder. I can right click and create a new folder. I can call this characters. I can double click into here. From the menu here I can click import. Navigate to where I have the character saved, selected and click open. This recognizes it's a skeletal mesh. We don't want to import any animation this time, so I can uncheck this. I do want it to create a new material and import the textures. The defaults look good, so I can click import. This imports the character. There are some binding warnings, but these won't be important. I can X this down. I can right click and create a new folder and call it materials. Select all the materials and texture files here and I can drag these into the new material folder and choose move here. I can navigate around the scene here and find a good location for the character. Now grab my character and drag and drop him into the scene. Let's now create a level sequence. First, I can click back into content, right click and create a new folder. I can call this cinematics. From the cinematics menu, select add level sequence. I can call this master, select the cinematics folder and click save. This adds in the sequencer editor and you can dock this anywhere. I like to have it docked beside the content folder. Back in the content folder, I can double click into the cinematics folder. Right click and from animation choose level sequence. I can call this shot 1. Switch back to the sequencer now and I can click track and choose shot track. This will allow us add in our shots here. Change the frames per second to 24 from the drop down here. I can click the plus and add in shot 1. Double click into shot 1 now. This is where we can add the assets such as characters, cameras and control them. I can now select the character in the scene, click track, actor to sequencer and choose a selected character here. I can also search for a cinematic camera actor from search, grab this and add that into the scene. With this selected, from track, actor to sequencer, and choose the selected camera here. From the drop down here, I can change the layouts to 2 panes. From the view menu, I can make this a cinematic viewport and now switch this to perspective. I can zoom back into the character and select him now. Move him into position in the scene. I can use W, E and R to switch the manipulator type. In the outliner, I can select the camera, right click and choose Pilot Cinematic Actor 1. This allows me to set up the camera in the scene manually using the controls. When I have this in position, I can click the eject button and escape from that view. Click camera here and make an existing binding for this shot with the camera. Next, we want to add in the animation. Let's switch back to the content browser. Click into content, double click into characters, click import, choose the character walk and open. Character skeleton is selected. The defaults look good, so I'll click import. Again, I can click import, choose the character line. The defaults look good again, so I'll again click import. And finally, we can add in the sound file. So I can click import and navigate to where I have the sound file selected and click open. Switch back to sequencer. From the character animation property, click the plus. I can select character line. From track, I can add an audio track. Click the plus and add in the character sound file. I can also close up these tracks here to match the length of the shot. Scrub this along to see if the sound plays okay. Click the scrubber back to the start. I can also reposition the camera and get the shot I want here. I can click back to master, close up this to match the length also. Switch back to the content browser and double click into cinematics. Select shot 1, right click and duplicate this and call this shot_02. That names it automatically. Now switch back to sequencer. I can click the plus again and add shot 2. Grab this and position it behind shot 1. Now double click into shot 2. Select the character line strip here and press delete to remove it. Reposition the camera for this shot. From the character animation property, click the plus and add in the character walk. That gets added at the position of the scrubber, so I can select the strip and drag it to the start of shot 2. I can reposition this here. Select the sound file and remove this from shot 2 also. I can scrub this along and take a look. I can click back to the master sequence now and adjust these tracks and close up the timeline to match. I can scrub this along between both shots and take a look at the sequence. In the outliner, I can close this back up. In the matinee folder, select all these camera actors and press delete. Yes to all of these. I don't want these to render out. Click the render button here. I can enable audio with the master audio mix. Select the destination and click capture movie. And I can save all. When that renders, I can give this a play. The sound file can be combined with a video editor such as Blender or Shotcut. That's one process for creating characters and animations in MakeHuman, Blender and Unreal Engine, and that's where I leave it.